Hey there, and welcome to this episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. This one, it's a different one. It's a unique one. It's something that I haven't done before. So, if you hadn't noticed, I have been in a special training series. I do this once a year. It's called the Affluent Entrepreneur Experience. This is my live three-part series that I do where I'm helping people just like you get the priorities, the principles, and the processes it takes to build a money machine. And we know that the money machine is the key to your freedom. It's a key to life of choice. It is a key to getting your time back. Okay. And so in this episode, what I've done is I've taken the training and I've condensed the training down into the highlights, the juicy stuff that you need to know to start to move yourself forward on the road to financial freedom. So take it all in, take some notes. Let me know if there's anything I can do to bring it further for you. Enjoy this episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. So we're going to talk about 6 principles. Here's the thing that started to drive me to being more principle-based in the things that I do. You can call it principles, you can call it rules, however you want to look at it. And so the first principle is why before how and how much. Because here's what I have seen is that money is truly not a purpose. It's a result. So the question is why? There was a 2017 Harvard study of 4,000 millionaires, and it was a happiness study. And they looked at these millionaires and they asked them the different things that brought them happiness. And making money wasn't on the list, but how they made the money was. The why behind the money was driving their happiness more so than the money themselves, because they realized money is a result. Money is a tool. Money is a tool to an end to give us what we need. And here's what I also know. When you give your money a higher purpose, you will give your life a higher purpose also. So, when you give your money a higher purpose, you will create a higher purpose for your life. It truly is about understanding why you do things. Everything I do is driven by a why. Everything I do. My why, and now, mind you, your why will change. My why initially was my son. I was a single full-time dad. He was everything I had. Met Stephanie. Okay, there's missions, there's causes. Yeah, I have a nonprofit, a charitable organization that deals with abuse and violence against women and children. That's a big mission and cause for me. I get behind causes that have to do with animals, especially being a puppy owner. Okay, so all of that are the whys that start to drive everything. And so the question really is, when you come to me or someone comes to me and say, I want $1 million. My first question is why? $1 million is an arbitrary number. It could be a lot, it could be a little, but why? And so the question that drives it is always the why. Because when you start to hit difficulty, when you start to hit the problems, this is what's going to get you through it. Leads me to principle number 2. Principle number 2. Principle number 2, wealth confidence comes from clarity. And you're probably going, what the heck do you mean? Here's what I mean by this. Wealth confidence comes from clarity is that you cannot move from somewhere until you know where you are. And the way you know where you are is to be willing to accept your current reality. Not judge it, not beat yourself up with it, not blame it. I know, so I got diagnosed with a cancer on a Friday. And my wife and I pretty much spent all of Saturday crying till we had no tears left. And on Sunday, sometime on Sunday, I woke up, I looked at her, and I said, this has been given to me. This is our lot. This is the hand we've been dealt. So now what? What are we willing to do? And what am I prepared to do to beat it? But it wasn't until I was willing to accept the current reality that I was empowered to do something about it. So there's two levels of clarity. The first is, what's my current reality? What's my current income? What's my current expenses? What's my current debt? What's my current assets? Being clear about it, not judgmental, to just say, it is what it is. Now I can do what I need to do. And the second clarity is, where do I want to go? What's the trajectory? What's the vision for my life? Stephanie and I, one of the beautiful things about having Budo is that every day, at least once a day, her and I take a walk with him. And it gives us a chance to chat. It gives us a chance to talk. It gives us a chance to connect and reconnect to where we want to go and talk about our dreams. Now, it doesn't happen every time. Sometimes it's just us going and talking about nothing. But it gives us the opportunity to continually attach to a future that we want. But we have to accept our current reality before we can move from that reality, because it's with that reality that I can sit back and say, okay, I got cancer. What are the different treatments I can go through? What are the things that, and I hit it every way from Sunday. Eastern medicine, Western medicine, holistic, all of it, because the odds, they looked at me and said, you might lose when they told me I might lose my bladder, I said, hell no. Now, I've been 3 years clear. I had 3 surgeries, 4 tumors removed. And 3 years clear. Now, just so y'all know, this Friday, on the 8th, I go back in for another scope and scan. All right? Preventive, not because there's anything, but because it's a high reoccurring cancer, I got to go in. I'll be honest, it's unsettling. I tell my wife, I now know what a defendant feels like when they turn around and say, the jury reached a verdict, come on back in the courtroom. So I'm walking in there going, oh, what's the verdict? So, but the point is that once we're willing to accept the hand we've been dealt, we can then play the hand. But if we're in denial, we can't. Now, with that, we turn our head up from what we currently have, and we look forward to what we want. We say, there's a gap. How do I fill that gap? How do I fill that gap? And that's the game that we play when we start to understand the clarity of it. Now, here's the other thing that comes from this. And this is an aside, but it's a personal philosophy that I think, thank you for all the good wishes. I'm hoping for good news. That'll be 3.5 years clear. So I feel great. They have told me they've never seen anyone fight it the way I did and the way I attacked it. So yeah. And I've got a great team of doctors. So here's the thing. My belief is your financial journey isn't a solitary one. Okay? It's not a solitary one. Meaning that if you're in an intimate relationship, you're married, you want to be married, you wish you were married, you need to have the conversations with them. Bring them into the conversation. Money is the second leading cause of divorce behind infidelity. It shouldn't be. It's one of the largest stressors in a relationship. It shouldn't be. Money should be driven by a vision for a life of togetherness and moving you forward to experience life. That's what it should be. But the tendency is, first off, we don't know how to have money conversations. I actually did an episode on that just recently. Because what we tend to do with money conversations is we come in and we sit down and we go, honey, why'd you spend so much at the golf club? Well, that kind of conversation isn't going to go well. If the vision for our life to live that richer lifestyle is to live it and share it, then we need to talk through that. We need to start with the vision of life and then bring it down to tactical. We need to let the vision for our life to inform a plan. The plan will inform the tactics. We don't go the other way around. The tendency is to dig into the checking account, the credit cards at the beginning and go, oh, you spent too much here, you spent too much there. That's going to do nothing but create divisiveness in a relationship. And that's not what we want. We want togetherness. We want to bring it together. But I think that we need to have people in it together. Stephanie didn't want to know anything about money. She says, you handle it. No. I want the peace of mind to know that you're taken care of. And I want you to have the peace of mind to know that I'm trying to take care of you. Now, she doesn't really, she's an executive. She does amazing. Okay. But I think that that's the important thing to look at. Now, let me introduce you to someone else who realized this and experienced that. And this is Kareena Kapura. And she said, just wanted to drop you a line to let you know that your podcast and work have really sparked a lot of conversation between my husband and me. That's so good for us, and not only from a financial perspective, but a relationship perspective. We realize that we have two parallel success stories, but have not fully integrated them. And after being together for more than 20 years, we decided to break down the silos and really be team players for each other rather than rooting each other on from the sidelines. We both really love your take on family, money, and entrepreneurship and how they need to work in harmony. Feels like after so long, we had some sort of awakening. We even decided to go on a second honeymoon. Thank you. And I think that when we use our money to create the relationships at a deeper level, it completely changes things. Okay? And so this leads me to principle number 3. This one is really important. Okay? They all are, but wealth creation is a today thing. Okay? It is not something to be put off to tomorrow. Here's what most people do when they're building wealth is they make money. So I go to a job or I build a business and I start to make money and everything. And so I make money, then I spend my money on my lifestyle, on the things that I want to do. And then I take whatever's left and I invest it. Whatever's left and I invest it. The problem is that, think about this. I'm making money here. I'm spending money here. And I'm investing money here. But what am I investing? The leftovers. That means you're building a financial future on the scraps. I know that's rough, but it's the truth. And that's what most people do. The rich, the people that actually build wealth, they switch this. They understand that wealth creation has to be a priority. So they look at it and they go, They make money. And instead of spending money, they first look at it and go, I'm going to invest money first and spend money second. So they make investing the priority and they never forsake it for trying to keep up with the Joneses or a current lifestyle. And I get it. You might look at it and say, well, if I did this, Mel, then I wouldn't have enough to pay for my bills. Well, then we need to examine a few things. Because if you're an entrepreneur, we go back and look at how we make money and how do we increase that. If you're not an entrepreneur and you're in a job, we go back here again and say, are there ways to get paid more? I'm going to put a training out for you guys that talked about how do you get paid your worth? How do you get paid your value? Because it's one of the things that I think that we don't do well is that we don't value ourselves, and therefore we don't get paid at a level that we should. But the second thing that I think is really important is to understand that it is no longer a luxury to have a single source of income. Multiple sources of income are a necessity. They're a necessity. And because that will give you the security that you need if one source of income goes away. Lose a job, can't work, okay, all those things. Here's why this is important. When we start to look at this, it's about understanding something that I call the wealth flatline, okay? When you build wealth, it goes like this. It isn't a straight line. That's not how we build wealth. It goes really, really slow at first. There's this segment of time that I call the wealth flatline. Okay? And what happens is that you start to build wealth and you're putting money away. Think about this. Okay? You're putting money away in a 401k, in a retirement plan, or in a brokerage account, or investments. And you're putting $500 away and you're going, Mel told me to do this. I'm going to do it. $500, $500, $500, whatever. You do it for 3 years and you go, I made $67. This is stupid. This isn't working. Here's why it's not working. It's because you're in the wealth flatline. We don't get money momentum until we get outside of this. Your wealth is in the acceleration zone here. And the only way to eat up the wealth flatline is one thing and one thing only: time. But the tendency, because we don't have patience, is to not stay in the wealth flatline. And I did this. So I was at a big consulting firm in downtown LA. I had my 401k. I had $20,000 in there. I decided I don't want to work here anymore. And I cashed out. This is when I moved to Japan. So I cashed out the 20K of the 401k. I paid tax on it. I ended up with like $13,000 and then went to Japan. Great trip. Stupid idea. Okay. From a financing standpoint. But here's what I did. The problem with doing that is maybe I was here in the flat line. As soon as I cashed out, I went back to ground zero. I had to start all over again. So what we need to do is get in the game, stay in the game, so we can end up here. It's not something that we can just kind of go through. We actually need to stay in the game. We got to burn the flat line. As much as people, they go, what are you investing in? Look, my portfolio is really boring. It's boring. If you're getting an adrenaline rush from your investments, you're in the wrong investments. Now, mind you, I have some risky investments because I choose to do that. But it's a very narrow sliver. It could go away tomorrow. I wouldn't be happy and I would pout for a weekend, but it isn't going to destroy us. But the important thing is to realize that I got to eat up that flat line. If I don't eat up that flat line, I won't get the acceleration. Here's the beauty of the acceleration zone. I will make more money from my money machine working than I will from me working every day and every month and every year from here on out. But the only reason that happened, because I stayed, once I realized this, I stayed here to eat this up. So it's now I'm in this zone. That's the key to all of this. And when you start to understand that time is your greatest lever of wealth, you get in the game and you stay in the game far faster. That leads me to principle number 4. Principle number 4, income doesn't make you wealthy. Listen, it's not about, you see it. It's not about how much you make that matters. You can make a lot of money and spend a lot of money. That same millionaire exercise, or the millionaire study, 10,000 millionaires, showed that most millionaires made their million and they didn't earn more than $100,000, $150,000 a year. So they didn't sell a business. They didn't make a $1 billion deal. They didn't do any of that. They just stayed consistent in that wealth flatline and then allowed the acceleration zone to go. So it isn't about just the money you make. It's about what we do with the money. It's about understanding that we have to assign every dollar. Every dollar needs to be assigned a job description. Y'all, you wouldn't hire a bunch of people. You wouldn't hire a bunch of people in, bring them into the break room and say, I'm glad you decided to come work for my company. I have no job description for you. I've got no idea what I want you to do yet, but I want to double our business. Go to it. You think it's going to work? No, but that's what we're doing with our money. We put it in a checking account, but we never tell it what to do. Tell every dollar what it's meant to do. When you do that, it will do the work it's meant to do. And the beautiful thing about dollars, unlike employees, dollars don't have PTO. They don't have sick time. They work 365 days a year, 7 days a week, and 52 weeks a year. And they won't unionize on you. We need to get our dollars to work harder for us than we did for it. And if you don't think that income doesn't matter, take a look at these folks. Tell me what they had in common. You see, all of them made lots of money. All of them went broke. Some still are. Some are no longer with us. So principle number 5 is incremental shifts lead to exponential change. This is me in Hanada Gardens in Japan. And I had a martial arts studio for 11 years. And the students used to come to me and say, Sensei, why is it when you do a technique, it hurts so much more? And I said, because I know the little things that make a big difference. Okay, little things that make a big difference. So this is an arm bar, and when I change just the angle slightly, it goes from painful to excruciating. It almost feels like your arm is going to explode. Okay, it's just a little thing. It's the same thing with your wealth. Too often we think that we need a lot of money. When I make a lot of money, then I'll build wealth. No, it's a behavior. We gotta change the behavior, no matter the amount. You don't go to the gym. You don't go to the gym the first time ever and get on the bench press with a 45-pound bar and put 45-pound plates on both sides and think you're going to bench press without damaging yourself. You go over to the smaller weights, the chrome weights. Nothing wrong with chrome weights. You can go to the chrome weights and you're going to start lifting those because now all of a sudden you're working the muscle to get the behaviors. Let's look at some numbers. I'll do some math for you here. Okay? And what can happen when you do this right? If all you did was put $200 away, in 30 years you could end up with $300,000. Now you might go, well, okay. Well, what happens if you did $800? $1.2 million. Okay. Now you're sitting back and saying, well, I don't want to wait 30 years. Good. Let's just wait 20 years. That's $500,000. What if we went all in, $1,500 a month? $2.2 million? There's $900,000. Point being is it doesn't take a lot. Remember what I said, the flat line? We have to eat up the flat line. I've got a kid who cuts my hair because it doesn't take much to cut my hair. Okay? Yeah, it's a month. That's per month. I've got a kid, he cuts my hair, and he tells me one day I get in there and he knows what I do, so we talk money and everything. And he says, I had one of my good friends just bought a $5,000 watch. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, does he make a lot of money? He says, no, he's 22 like me, 23 like me. And I said, so why would he spend $5,000 on a watch, which he probably financed? Okay. And he said, because his friends thought it was cool. I said, all right, so let me do some math for you. Every dollar you put away in your early 20s will turn into $80 by the time you're 65. So for him to spend $5,000 on a watch to impress a couple of dudes that probably won't be in his life in a few years, yeah, he's looking at a $5,000 watch. I'm looking at 80 times that, saying he just cost his financial future $400,000. It's a $400,000 decision, okay? And the challenge is, now, I'm not telling him not to do it. All I'm saying is that when you make a choice that it's conscious, it's intentional, and aware, when you make a choice that you're conscious about it, look, I spend plenty of money. Look, I got a $900 coffee maker in there, and I know that I can get more expensive. So, but the key is to understand the dynamics of your choice. When you understand that, then you start to look at it differently, and the power of time starts to get to you. So this is the thing that I want you to start to look at, is that when you are doing this, it doesn't take a lot to make a lot. Think about this. This is something that I did. I was speaking, keynoting for a hairstylist group, and I said, just take your first service of the week. Just take your first service of the week and put it in an investment account. Whatever it is, whatever you do, your first sale, your first service of the week, just allocate it. It's done. It doesn't take a lot to put $200 away if you make it deliberate and intentional. He's at $418,000. Sally did a little better because she invested longer, although she started the same time as Justin. So she gets to $660. Okay. So she invested longer and more than Tom, but didn't get close. She's still 1/3 away from him. But then there's Angela. Angela invests $200,000, just $50,000 more than Sally. Okay, yet that $50,000, instead of being $660,000, she's at $1,500,000. Getting in the game and staying in the game. Getting in the game and staying in the game is important. Catherine, I am with you on this. Trust me when I say you're okay. At 50 years old, you're okay. Yeah. Do you have this kind of leverage? No, but we still have the ability to make it happen. All right. I don't want to break your heart, but I want to give you the pathway to make it a reality. All right. So that leads me to the next. So this next principle is that you need to have portfolio thinking. Here's what I mean by this. Is that we've been told that when you make investments to have a diversified portfolio, so you'll have some in cash, you'll have some in stocks, you'll have some bonds, you might have some real estate, you have some other investments, okay? So you diversify the portfolio. Now, the reason you do that is that it reduces your risk of loss. So that's why we have a diversified portfolio when we invest. But we never do this. We don't ever talk about it in the sense of our income. We need to also diversify our income in a way that you are not dependent on one income stream. So if one goes away, you're okay. Let me go to the next slide so you'll see what I'm talking about. Because if we just look at the income, let's just look at me, for instance. So I make some income from speaking. I make income from courses, mentoring, consulting, okay, investments, royalties, and board. I'm on boards of directors. So I make income from a variety of different places. If any of these go away, it affects me, but it doesn't destroy me. And this is why I think it's really important for us to start to look at how do we diversify income. This brings me to this whole idea of the 5 incomes. Okay? And these are the different levels of income that you can create. And why this is really important is for you to really start to look at it from a different perspective. There's a concept that is out there in the world, and you hear it all the time. I want passive income. Y'all, you don't want passive income because there's no such thing as passive income. I look at it in this way. Your relationship to your money, your wealth, and your income is just that. It is a relationship. I've been married now almost 13 years. Now I'm married to an amazing woman, I got the better end of that deal. All right. And if you don't think I can sell, take a look at my wife. All right. So, but the point being is that when you start to look at it, if I took a passive approach to that relationship, how good do you think my marriage would be? It would wither and die. It's no different than your money. And so I don't want you to look at it through the eyes of set it, forget it, and it's passive. I want you to look at it through the eyes of how much effort does it take for me to generate it? The leverage component, okay? How much leverage is there, okay? So this is where the 5 incomes come into play, is that it's the degree of leverage. How much time and effort does it take for you to generate it? At the beginning, you're all going to be inactive. You're going to be building an active income as an employee, as a solopreneur, doing one-on-one. We all start there. That's okay. The question is, most people were trained to stay there. And so they have no way out. And if the active income goes away, or their ability to put the effort out, or their desire to put the effort out goes away, I want you to have a life of choice, not need. I can choose to do what I do because I love doing what I do. I love speaking. I love serving. I love seeing the light bulbs go on. I love seeing people's and helping people get their dreams lit on fire. The next level of income that you can have is business income. Now, all of a sudden, you take that active income, you start to leverage yourself out of the business. You start to have team. You're not as owner dependent. You may be talking to one-to-many. You might have a job, and now you have a side hustle. This is where most people play. And where I want you to do is start thinking about the next 3 levels of income. The next 3 levels of income come to this. You can see that the effort here is more than the effort here. And that's what we're trying to get at. Well, the next level up is what we call asset-based income. This is when you buy real estate or equipment or software and you're renting it. So it takes some effort, but it doesn't take as much effort as me in a job or as a solopreneur. So the leverage point goes up. The 4th level of income that you can have is residual income. This is you licensing your stuff. Royalties. It could be a downline if you're in a network marketing, white labeling. It's things like my books, my courses. I'll get a check from royalties on that. So I spend a lot of time doing the work to get it done and get it dialed in. But then after that initial work is done, it will carry on. I have my other book, the Entrepreneur Solution. I still get checks today. So you create this residual income stream based upon efforts that you did in the past to create it, and we want to look for that. And then the last and most leveraged level of income is portfolio income. This is your investments, your bonds, your mutual funds, REITs, and ETFs, and things like that. Because they're they don't take a lot of effort once you're in the game. Okay? Here's where this is important. And this is what I really, the message behind all of this is. You will probably be making 100% of your income here for a while. Let's just talk about me and the cancer. When I got diagnosed, I was speaking, I was consulting, I was doing all these things. 100% of my income, 100% of my income was generated down here from my business income and my active income. That's it. Now, I also had income up here, but I wasn't using it. I had all the investments because that's my money machine. And so it was making money, but we were reinvesting to build the money machine bigger. So I wasn't living off of it. I was living off of this. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? Just let me check in with you. Okay. Yeah. So, but then when I got diagnosed, I went to my wealth team and I said, hey, y'all, I'm not doing this anymore. We brought this down to like 10%. I said, flip the switch. Okay. I need the rest coming from here. So the money that was coming out, a portion went to support us, and now a smaller portion. So we were growing slower, but we were still growing. But I flipped the switch. I didn't have to spend anything. We didn't have to sell anything. We didn't have to downsell. We didn't have to downsize. I didn't have to drain an emergency fund. I didn't have to drain a savings account. I didn't sell my wife's shoes. Lord knows that would have been a fate worse than the cancer. So we just flipped the switch like we had an ATM because we built the thing. The idea is that your money machine is really built on these 3 more than anything else. Yeah, it was a backup generator for sure, Shannon. So then once I came out of the cancer, I went back to my team and I said, shut this baby off and start investing it fully there. I'm bringing this back up to 100%. A life of choice, not need. The beauty behind understanding the 5 incomes is that you have now the opportunity to create a life by choice. And that's the thing that I want you to work from. And a lot of people will say, well, that's hard. It is. It takes time. It's not what we're trained to do. It's not how we were trained in this industrial age thinking, but it's what we should be doing. And when we do it right, my son is 33. His wife's 30. They have two beautiful kids. In fact, it was, okay, you're going to have to, proud grandpa moment. This was my birthday just this weekend. And there's my 2 little granddaughters, my wife. So yeah, I don't know. I just had to share. But here's the point of that is that they've got the 2 kids, they've got 3 homes and a multi-million-dollar network. Because I got them to start early and they are staying in the game. And that's the thing that really starts to drive everything. I get it. Some of you might be sitting back saying, well, I'm 50 years old. That's okay. We're going to still make the moves to start building these things. We still have to make the moves. We still have to build it. Now, the point is that your freedom is sitting up in those 3 elements. Your freedom is in those 3 elements. If you don't have those elements in place, there's no freedom for you because you constantly have to be generating income. Now, I don't expect to ever stop working. I love what I do. Okay? I love what I do. But by doing some of the things that we're talking about here, you will build your money machine over time. And when you start to understand the dynamics of the wealth flat line, you'll see that once we get past this, and this could be, depending on how much income you're throwing at it, 3 to 10 years. You're in the acceleration zone, and all of a sudden, like I said, we make more money here than I do down here. All right, I hope you found this special, unique episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show really enlightening and helpful to start to understand what it takes to build your money machine, what it takes to create the path to financial freedom. Listen, if you want to get access to the full training, all of the training and all of the goodness that comes with the training, the workbook and all that stuff, just go to affluencelive.com, grab the spot. You can get access to either the replays or the lives, and I'll see you on the journey to financial freedom. Cheers.